الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Thank you, Sheikh, for this first part. I think that you said many things that are essential in our understanding. It might come from a different angle in my discussion right now, because as I was asked about so we got it right. Music is halal. And clapping as well. Look, three things as an introduction, just to start with, when it comes to Islamic education. I think it's a critical discussion, and very often we come back to this discussion about some of the things that we are trying to do in the West with Islamic schools. Is it the right way or not? What are the priorities? And I think that sometimes we are missing the point, not coming back to the fundamentals. What are we talking about when it comes to education, and what are the objectives? So I would prefer to start with this, which is the framework and the objectives, the principles, the way and the objectives, and then to see which kind of answers we can give. Because when we speak about Islamic education, we are not speaking about education for Muslims. No. We are speaking about the principles and the framework, the system and the objectives that we are trying to promote and to remain faithful to when it comes to education. I think that this is something which, once again, has to be discussed. And very often I see people, they want to do exactly the same as what is done by other systems and just add Islamic. And they are very happy in the competition when the Muslims are doing as good as the other. My point is not just to enter in the competition and do the same as the other, and I'm happy because we are adding Islamic. What is the added value of Islamic education in the West? And the point for me is not to integrate within the system, is to contribute to reform the system for the better. So it's a philosophy, it's an approach. I can understand someone who may disagree with me from the very beginning. So let us agree or disagree from the very beginning. But this is the way I'm starting the discussion. What is the added value, and what are the principles that we need to understand or to promote or to translate in our life? And the second point is really to go to something which is a structured way of dealing with the issue. Good intention, hopes, that's always good. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, it's all good. Our actions are by our intention. But it's not because we have good intentions that we are prevented from being structured, disciplined, knowing exactly what we want and what we have to do. So I saw too many people having the good intention to have an Islamic school, but the philosophy, the objective, the principles are not there. So the good intention could destroy if we don't have the right way of doing things. So, and this is something that we get from the Prophet's life. He's always, always asking God to help him, but not forgetting to think when it comes to implement. And to ask the people around him, even non-Muslims, people from other faiths, help me to go the right way. I rely on God, but I need human intelligence and human agency in anything that happens. And we are in the West, surrounded by people who are working on education, coming with new theories, trying their best to come with a better, and we are sometimes neglecting all this in the name of the fact that we have the right principles. But to have the right principles and not the right methodologies is wrong. Because there is no way of understanding the principles if you don't get how to implement them in a specific context. So this is why to be a good Muslim is always having two knowledges, the principles and the context, the environment, where you are living, with whom, what do you want to achieve here, in the name of the principles, knowing the context within which you are living. And then to come to evaluation, we need this. We need to evaluate. We need to assess where we are, have we achieved over the last 25 years. And I would say that we have to be positive about this, because over the last 25 years, 30 years, what the Western Muslims, the European Muslims have achieved is great. If only we are looking at what we have achieved coming from where we were coming as Muslims in the West is great. Does it mean that we should be happy with it? We should be happy with the constructive and critical with the failures and what still has to be improved in the whole process. Now, let me come to some of the principles that are so important for me when it comes to Islamic education. As principles, as the principles on which we have to rely. And I think that this is where everything when it comes to the beginning of the revelation that we have is really to understand the oneness of God. Tawheed is essential. But when God is talking to the Prophet ﷺ, the first dimension on which he is relying, talking about himself, is Rabbul Alameen. And the Rabb is not exactly the way we translate this into English, saying Lord. In Rabb, there is the root of Tarbiyah, is the educator. So he's taking someone, Al-Mukhtar, the chosen one, Al-Mustafa, the purified. He's taking him and saying, now I am your educator. Now this is the way I'm taking you from here, and I want you to go there. So on the way towards truth, on the way towards me, on the way towards being close to me, I'm your educator, and you are going to be educated. And through this process, you are yourself going to be the model for all. So you are the best model, because the educator is God. So tarbiyah is something which is essential. On what dimensions is based this tarbiyah? And even when we have in something which is really this connection with God, when Allah is talking about himself, Ar-Rahman, and you know how much the Prophet, peace be upon him, loved this surah, Surah Ar-Rahman. Ar-Rahman, Allama al-Quran, Khalaqa al-Insan, Allamahu al-Bayan. Ta'lim it twice here between Allama al-Quran, who he taught Quran, the recitation, the revelation. He created man, and then Allamahu al-Bayan. He taught him how to express himself. And between coming from God with this understanding, the revelation, and being able to speak out, there is twice Allama. So ta'lim here is essential, is not only knowledge, and this is why Abu Hamid al-Ghazali was very much in his Ihya Ulumuddin working on this dimension of al-ilm wal-fahm, which is knowledge is what you get, al-fahm is what you understand out of what you are getting. So this is something which is this dimension of al-ilm, al-fahm, and we have a third word which is where it came. We have a mustalah. It became a specialized word when it comes to Islamic law and jurisprudence. Al-fiqh. In fact, fiqh is deep knowledge, and deep knowledge is the knowledge of the revelation, the understanding of the revelation, and the implementation of this revelation in your time, in your place, to remain faithful. So you have the three dimensions: ilm, fahm, fiqh. So these three dimensions are all important, but it's not enough to get that. Because as it was said, very often when we start talking about this, we think, and in our systems today, very often when you speak about understanding, you speak about mind. Your mind, get it, that's wrong. لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ بِهَا. Your heart is understanding. And this is a dimension which is so important in anything which has to do with spirituality, is that in any Islamic education, based on the Islamic principles, you educate the mind and you educate the heart. So this is something what we know when any teacher knows that you always get a better knowledge when you love the teacher. It's easier. Mathematics is always easier when you love the teacher. So this is why the messenger was loved. He was loved and he was the best teacher. Because at the same time he came with very, إِنَّ الْحَلَالَ بَيِّنًا إِنَّ الْحَرَامَ. It's clear, there are limits. But because we love you and you learn, you teach us how to love him, we understand that it's out of love that we respect the limits. So our mind is ready to respect because our heart is open to love. This is the meaning of education, but it's not enough. It's not only this. That what we got today from behaviorism, psychology, is that it's not only your mind, it's not only your heart, even your body. You can teach your body. From everything that we have in our prayer, you understand that through a way of dealing with your body is getting a knowledge. And this is why you can hear, but you don't hear. You can see, but you don't see. And there is something which is, how do you educate the body? So we have physical education, but there is something which is deeper. Is the way you are training your body to be close to God. The way you are cautious when you start with your right hand. That you are cautious about the details. Because when you start with your right hand, you are just saying, I'm not forgetting that He's with me, whatever I'm doing with my body. Critical and essential. Respect your body in the way you are, in the way you deal, in the way you say salam, in the way you greet people, in the way you serve them. Your body is learning as much as your body, and it's learning and understanding something. And this is coming from psychology today. We know that anything which has to do with the relationship with your body, your heart, and your mind. So it's a comprehensive approach of this. Never neglect the body if you want a spiritual education. Never. Anyone who is just talking about your heart and saying this is spiritual is missing the point. Because what we got from the life of the Prophet ﷺ is exactly this. Connect the mind with the heart, with the body. And understand that when the body is ready, sometimes it's the body that is opening your heart. Not always the opposite. These are the three dimensions of the principles that we have in Islamic education. And it's part of something which has to do with the meaning of things. And as you were saying, education is mainly about meaning. It's educating about why. What do you want to achieve? And getting the meaning through fahm, through ilm, fahm and fiqh, is the very essence of a very simple part of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. When you get it right, it's not only when you look outward, but when you look inward, is وَأَعْطِ كُلَّ ذِي حَقٍّ حَقًّا. Give every dimension of your being its rights. So your mind, your heart, your body, they have rights, and you have to be very cautious to give to every dimension of your being its rights. So your mind has to get the knowledge as much as your body has to get the food, as much as your heart needs to get love. And all this dimension is part of the education. And you will never get peace, which is the very end, the high objective of Islam. You will never get peace if you don't understand that education is all about being a balanced person. A balance is, you have needs, find the answers to these needs. And this is part of what we have to do from the basic Islamic education. And this is why when we deal with human beings, when we deal with our kids, this is the very meaning of dignity. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ is this, is to get the dignity, is give me the food for my mind, the food for my body, and the food for my heart. Educating is all about this. Having said that now, the consequence of these are three things, quite quickly. Am I in my time? Still? And to understand that when we are talking about this, these are the basic rights for any human being. Any family, any Muslim majority country, any community, we have to come to this, because this is the respect of the basic rights, is giving the dignity and the basic dignity to human being. What is the first consequence of this? The first is what you should do, because at one point in my life, I'm going to be autonomous. I'm going to be mukallaf. Mukallaf means that without you, my father, without you, my mother, without you, my teacher, I'm going to be asked by God. So you have to teach me how to be autonomous. And how to be autonomous is what the French philosopher was saying. I'm not teaching you to think like me, I'm teaching you to think without me. Which is essential. That education is, I'm giving you the means for you to walk without me. At one point, the day of judgment, you're not going to come back to me. You're going to be alone, I'm going to be alone. So autonomy is something which is essential in our education. How are you going to get autonomy if you only know the text and you don't know the context? If you are protected, because this is sometimes the way we are dealing with Islamic schools, but even in our family, we are protecting our kids, our daughters and our sons in a way when they are outside, they are not equipped to face the reality. So they are not autonomous. They pretend to be, to please us. So when someone is just pretending to be autonomous to please the authority, we are losing everything. The authority is wrong and his or her autonomy is wrong. It's not effective. So autonomy is essential. Are we now educating kids, boys and girls who are autonomous? And autonomous means not only to be able to take the right decision, but autonomous, it's spiritually strong enough to face the challenges of this life. With their heart, with their mind, and with their body. The second thing which is connected to this is, of course, what I was saying before is you can't do this to be autonomous if you don't give them the knowledge of the context. So this is why there is no Islamic education if you only come to Islamic education is you know the Quran, you know the Ahadith, and you're not reading the world. And by the way, the first conversion, when you start understanding the beginning of the revelation, when it is said to the Prophet ﷺ, "Iqra bismi rabbik," Iqra is read. It's not only read the text, then it's wal fajr, wal qamar. It's all the world. It's just change your understanding of the world. These are signs. So it's understanding the world as much as you have to understand the book. And in the book it's coming to help you to understand the world. And look at the people around you. So I think that this is where our Islamic education in the West is learn about the West. Learn about this society. Learn about the people. Learn about what it means to be autonomous in Britain now, not in Egypt 25 years ago, not in Sudan, or other countries. Always coming first with Egypt, you know why. Anyway. So, this is the context. But there is another thing which is important. You know, for example, when you go to Muslim majority countries and you have some kids and boys and girls, and they come with the Islamic knowledge. They know about the Quran, they know Hadith. And we come with them and say, okay, recite. And they recite. You know what is out of this? Something which is essential when you educate a kid is giving value to what he or she knows. And you need to get this between the knowledge and the context. There is giving value to the one you are educating. It means that out of the Islamic schools in Britain or wherever you are, if we have Islamic schools that are isolating our boys and daughters in a space where they are good there but not valued outside, there is something wrong. In fact, I need to get the knowledge when I go outside, I have a value. The people are looking at me. Exactly when we are all like this, we have to stop having idealistic hopes about, you are going to be a good Muslim if you get the good knowledge, Islamic knowledge. I need to be valued. I need to have a value in the society. The good education is giving me a value. Which kind of added value we give to our young generation in Britain? It's not only to come to say you are the first in the rank, this is the first school. No. What are you contributing? What are you giving to this society? What is the value that you have as a human being? If it's only I'm visible because I wear the headscarf, or I'm visible because I have an Arabic look, and that's it. This is the opposite of getting value. As you know, the perceptions, 75% of the Americans think that Islam is a problem in the United States of America, exactly the same figure in France, and now it's becoming to be the same everywhere in Europe. The perception is negative. So our answer to this is not to say, you know what, we are nice, we are kind, we love you. It's just, what is your added value? You are educating a generation. It has to be seen out of what we are bringing into education, what we are bringing into the behavior. Having said that, let me just bring to the fore some of the principles that I think that we have to promote when it comes to Islamic education for now and for the future. There is something which is, you spoke about it, which is freedom. It's essential in Islam, and many of the scholars, when they were talking about the fact that the angels were even prostrating in front of Adam alayhi salam, is for two reasons. First is knowledge, and the second, it was free. He is free. He's a free human being. Adam was free, so he's free. فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. This freedom is essential. We need to educate our our kids and our children in a way where they are free. But please, it's not, and this might be something that you had it in mind, but you stress on the fact that we can move and we can speak. My first concern with freedom is not the freedom to speak or the freedom to move, is the freedom to be. Is who you want to be. Is how do you want to be? Is it just to follow? Is this strength, this courage to be who you want to be? Is to be assertive with your own values. So sometimes it's not easy when we dress the way we dress. When, for example, you have all these people, all these fellow pupils or students, they are doing what they are doing, and to be able to say, I don't do this, I don't do this. It's just to show through this that I don't do this, I'm free. You might not be free. You think you are free to follow, but I'm free not to follow. So how do you do this? How do you teach the strength of being able to say no? Being able to say, I don't like it because I'm educated to try to find my right answer. So this is something which I think we have to be serious about this. Muslims are not serious about the question of freedom. Not only free to speak or freedom as freedom of being who we want to be. How do we educate kids to be able to get with this spiritual strength, which is important here? And then you add to this the freedom to speak and the freedom to ask questions. So this is also something which is missing very often in our mosques. Our Islamic education is all about you listen. You listen to because I'm giving you the Quran, I'm giving you the Hadith, the right, it's are the 2 minutes? 5 minutes. He's more generous with me. So just the point is to question, and this is why I think we have to also understand that if we want to get with the right education in the West or in Britain, for example, you can't come with something which is schools where you are not teaching the students to ask questions and all the questions are legitimate. You can't avoid, I'm sorry, you know how internet is working now. We are avoiding questions about, behaviors, about sexuality, about how come am I going to be protected if you are hiding the questions that are in my mind? I'm colonized with questions and you pretend that it's not there. And the only answer to my question is, A'udhu billah haram. So A'udhu billah haram is not helping me. It's just, there is something which is important. I am surrounded with all these questions. Don't put me in a situation where when I feel that this is attracting me, I feel that I'm wrong or I'm a bad guy. It's natural. Spirituality is not to start with, you are bad. Spirituality is, it's normal, but you should be better. What you are feeling is normal. It's normal. This is our human condition. But you can be better. So to start with normality and to try to go to spirituality. From natural to spiritual. But not from bad to hide everything, because with Muslims you don't talk. And many of you are saying, that's so true. But even at the university level, I can tell you that what I can see with some of the students is that pretending that they are not touched by some of these issues. Because this is the way we are educating ourselves. Silence, no words, keep it quiet. It's not, you can't be at peace with this. Critical thinking is starting with this, and I think that we need to have the courage. And then the second, with this freedom, the second thing is to be active. And as it was said, to be active means to be able to speak. We need to teach our children, our pupils, the students, to speak out. We need to teach them also to write. I think that we need this. Writing is not only read, is write. It's if you want to be effective and to get a value in the society, speak in order to be heard, and write in order to be read. But write. It's something which is part of our education also. And as it was said as well, is to serve, which is exactly to serve, to be a contribution. I don't like all this business about integration, integrate our schools into the system. All this for me, it's over. Now, the schools should contribute. Is you are what you give. So an education that is helping our children to give with your mind, to give with your heart, and to give with the way with solidarity. But once again, if you want to serve the society, in the book that Muslims are not reading, because I get some, got some Muslims coming to me say, the Quest for Meaning is a philosophical book. It's as if when you are a Muslim, we just only have to speak about Islam and you have to have Islam on the title. While the book is mainly about what is needed also for, as a philosophy of pluralism, is if you want to serve in Britain, what do you know about the history of this country? What do you know about the legacy of this country? What do you know about the critical questions that the British, your fellow citizens, have? You need to know them. So this is why I'm saying we have to reconcile ourselves with 4 disciplines. And the first one is history. But also philosophy, the right questions is to be able, and religions. And I'm sorry to say that many Muslims, they talk about being open and respecting other religions. And the first respect that you have towards other religions is at least to learn a bit. To read. What do you know about Christianity? What do you know about Buddhism? What do you know about religions, other religions? You're not more convinced with your truth if you ignore the others. And then you repeat, and you keep on repeating in our gathering the verse that is said to the other. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا, telling them you have to know us, but not telling ourselves you need to know them. But ta'arufu, it's a two-way process. So you live in the West and you don't do the job. You are not teaching this. At least the knowledge of us and the others is part of the process. And the last point here for me, which, by the way, when we speak about spirituality, I don't like all this business thinking about spiritualities as if we have a parallel life. For me, when I'm speaking about acting here, spirituality is meaning in action. It's kunu rabbaniyin. What we have in the Quran, kunu rabbaniyin, is just to feel that you are close to God. Means that in anything that you are doing, you put meanings in your actions to serve the people. So never forget, it's when you start by saying Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, put meanings in action. That the objective is what? To satisfy God and to serve the people. And the best way to satisfy Him is to serve the people. So this is spirituality. This spirituality is not only to pray during the night. And as I'm always repeating, pray during the night in order to serve people during the day. And this is the way you serve God. And yourself, by the way. Because by serving and praying, this is the connection. The last point is that also should come from education, and that we are not talking about it. And I really think that educating is about love. You have to learn how to love your parents. You have to learn how to love your family, your kids. but you also have to learn how to love your society. And when we are talking about being here in this country, how many Muslims are ready to look at Britain, born here or who came afterward, and say to the people, you are my people? And to say to the people, you are my people, is coming from the heart, is not coming from the mind. My people, I care about you. I care about this society. So which is not really, we speak about it, but how do you do this? If in our mosque, in our schools, we keep on repeating us versus them, they are like this. So you can say this or speak about this when we come to morality, but when it comes to building a society, and the prophets, all the prophets, and the last one, ﷺ, were rejected, oppressed. He had to leave the country. He came back and he said, my people. You are my people. And I'm serving you even against your will. Why? Because he told me to do so. So I'm serving him against your own will. You know why? Because you are acting against your own benefit. So the point for us is really to get to education where loving the society we live in, loving the people, and get this through our education means also that there is one dimension which is essential, and this is why I was happy to start with music. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. If you want to share something with your society, you need to learn about arts. You need to learn about poetry. You need to learn about beauty in the society. Taste, and sharing taste is something which is non-verbal but very deep in affection. Are we teaching, Allahu Jamil yuhibbul jamal. The God is beautiful, He likes beauty. We keep on repeating the hadith. What does it mean in our life? Are we teaching arts? Are we teaching poetry? What's haram in the fact that you know British poetry? While you know Arabic poetry, what are not so Islamic. It's not big. No, you know this. You know that it's not because it's in Arabic that it's Islamic. This is coming from our inferiority complex when people don't know Arabic. But I think that this is why we need to teach arts. We need to teach culture. We need to teach all these dimensions that are part of translating in a non-verbal dimension the very meaning of loving. Loving your people. Loving the creation. And through this, you have this connection with God, which is part of our education. This is al-fahm al-amiq, which is al-fiqh. Not only through the rules, but through the meaning of the rules and the objective. At the end of the day, the more you celebrate beauty, the more you celebrate the creator of beauty. So I think that this is the point. And all this could be summarized in a word, which I only think that at the end of the day, education is about this. Teach and educate courageous people. Courageous people means they are free, means they are ready to speak out, they are ready to be assertive, this is who I am, and they are courageous enough to be able to show to the people around them their needs. I'm assertive with my words, but I also need love to be standing up. The need of love could be perceived as a fragility and a weakness. The courageous people are exactly following in the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ, saying to the companions, tell the people that you love them. Tell them that you need them. Because when you say I love you, it means I need you. So I think that this courage is something which is central in education. How many courageous human beings are we educating in our schools might be the only right question to ask. Assalamu alaikum.